Far Cry 5 would probably vote Trump. It likes billions and billions and
billions and billions
and billions.
This is Versus, the GameSpot show that pits your favourite games, consoles, franchises and hot-button issues against each other. This week, the battle of the Far Crys as we pit new boy Far Cry 5 against its great-great-grandpa, Far Cry 2. Fighting for 5 is Tamoor Hussain, who despite spending hours playing with Boomer in the game and even meeting him in real life, is still very much a cat person. And making the case for Far Cry 2 is Oscar Deus, who upsettingly was only 12 when the game actually came out in 2008. Regardless of his short time on the planet, he still insists that Far Cry 2 has never been bettered. Each are going to argue the corner for their game over the course of 3 randomly picked topics, with the overall winner being decided by you, the wonderful viewers. Despite an excellent argument from me, last week's tense debate on console exclusives saw Oscar notch up a second win with a staggering 85% of you voting for PS4. Can we please stop letting him win? Anyway, we're going to be throwing up a clickable poll right here on YouTube, or if you're watching over on GameSpot.com, let us know who you think has won the debate in the comments section below. Right, let's get into it.
Tamoor,
Oscar?
I'm going to set fire to this table and it's going to burn you.
You know what I've noticed over the last few episodes of Versus?
What's that?
Somehow my man has got the easy wins.
Yeah, because I'm really good at debating.
Handed the free wins.
Maybe
free wins for this guy. Free wins.
Well, it's actually 2 wins, but today is after today it's going to be 3.
Disgusting behaviour. Someone in the back rigging this for you. It's your mum, isn't it?
Right, should we dive into the first
Yeah,
topic?
I'll pick the first one. Exploration and emergent gameplay.
Well, Far Cry 2, I think is pretty obvious that it has the better exploration and better stories come out of its emergent gameplay as well. And I think a lot of that comes down to its mechanics, which at the time not everyone loved. They had the rusty guns and the malaria, and particularly the guns. They force you to explore because when your gun goes wrong, it forces you to go and pick up an enemy's gun, right? And it's the same with its mechanics in terms of the map is a really good example of why I think Far Cry 2 is better than Far Cry 5 as a whole. In Far Cry 5, you press a button, the map screen comes up. In Far Cry 2, you press a button and your character holds up a physical map in the game and you have a GPS device on your dashboard in your car. Holding it in front of your face like that forces you to actually look at the map whilst you're still driving, and so then you can crash into a zebra and then your car explodes. Every part of the game is feeding into the fact that it's forcing you to go out and explore the environment. You can't just get by and go wherever you want with loads of fast travel points everywhere.
So I agree with you. However, my big bugbear with Far Cry 2 is the moments are kind of punctuated amongst huge stretches of frustration as well. Every time you get one of those emergent gameplay moments or you are exploring, it also comes with the risk of something utterly destroying your fun. What is great about Far Cry 5 is it takes those ideas from Far Cry 2 and it kind of refines them, because it means it kind of drags everything together and kind of streamlines the kind of emergent moments you have without making you feel like you're also on the cusp of having your play session ruined by something like malaria. Or, for example, let's look at the idea of using a map while you're driving. That's a great, cool thing. It also means that there is a chance that you could crash into something, your car blows up, you're in the middle of nowhere, you've got malaria. What I like about Far Cry 5 is you've got the map, but what it does is it not challenges you, but invites you not to look too much at that map. It's just like go around and whatever you stumble upon is a moment for you. You get those same emergent moments, but you feel in control a little more. So that means that you can get more rewarding experiences out of it without feeling like you're being punished by the game.
I agree that Far Cry 5 is a smoother experience overall and definitely has refined the sort of formula, but it's those frustrating moments, those small frustrating moments where your gun does explode in front of your very eyes, or you have malaria, or your car breaks down, that make the successes in Far Cry 2 so special. The randomness is what keeps you on your toes.
Sure.
You have to adapt, and then when you do succeed, you're like, I earned this success. Rather than in Far Cry 5, it's like you're given all of the... Far Cry 5 is like a drug. It's like you're given this steady supply of heroin or cocaine.
That makes you feel good.
And it makes you feel good.
on top of the world.
You do.
You feel great.
You feel powerful.
And as long as you keep jamming that heroin
exactly.
in,
You have to keep injecting yourself.
Never stop. Don't stop taking heroin. Ever. Next one is Gunplay, or as I like to call it in the context of Far Cry 5, fun play.
Delete yourself.
Slow zoom onto me.
Okay, but seriously though, why is it good? It's not good,
I think it's good. Like, there's the base level thing where every gun feels good. Every weapon you use feels good. I love silenced weapons. I love the bow and arrow. The bow and arrow is so cool in Far Cry 5. It's silent. Y'all know me. Same old Silent G. What's great about it is like you can't carry too many arrows, so you've got to go up and pick those arrows back up to basically give you a good stock of them constantly. And that means the strategic considerations it introduces to wiping out a camp is twofold now. Not only have you got to think about killing an enemy, you've got to think about, I also need to go to that enemy's body and pick up the arrow just in case. And that makes it more fun for me as someone who likes considered like slow, methodical movement through areas as part of like stealth. And then you've got like other things like, rocket launchers, ridiculous grenades, and all of that has an impact on the world and the way it changes. Like, I like the idea like throwing a grenade into a camp and just running away and watching what happens and seeing it all kind of tear itself apart, or spook an animal and the animals kind of attack the enemies that you're up against. So like that's what I love about it, like freedom to do what you want, all accessible from the outset, supporting the type of gameplay you want, always making it fun, interacting with the rest of the world, and kind of bringing the fun to you.
I think a lot of that is true, but I think Far Cry 2 sort of does a lot of what you just said in a similar way, but in a much more natural way.
Jamming.
And some of that is the weapon jamming, which like is an actual thing that happens in real life, and I really like that attention to detail and how it forces you to go out there and find other weapons and experiment with different types of gameplay. But also Far Cry 2 has amazing attention to detail. So like one of my favorite parts of Far Cry 2 is like if you shoot an enemy in the foot, he won't die, he'll limp to cover, try and recover there, and then maybe get a friend to come and help him and lift him out of danger.
That's AI, that's not gunplay.
Yeah, but that's part that feeds into the gunplay. Because in Far Cry 5 you shoot them and then they either die from a shot in the foot, which wouldn't happen.
No, they behave similarly. Like if you shoot them in different parts, they don't just instantly obliterate.
Or they go down with like an icon over the head being like, revive me. And it's like, it's so artificial, and the same thing happens with like Far Cry 2 was made, like it was famous for its fire propagation and how like realistic the spread of fire was, and how like the flamethrower was one of the best weapons in that game, and how you can just set fire to a patch of grass and then the entire field would end up ablaze with all the trees on fire, and it was amazing. It looked awesome, but it was also really useful from a gameplay perspective in like, you can destroy entire camps that way. But you can also do that accidentally. If you fire a rocket launcher, the backdraft from that will set on fire the grass behind you if you're on a hill. It's so much of Far Cry 2 has like amazing attention to detail in its gunplay, and that makes it so much more satisfying to play. It feels like they've really thought about it rather than just being like, there's a load of guns.
I respect that. And I'm about to drop a mixtape, and after that, I'm going to be known for fire propagation. Next topic is progression. So it's worth clarifying here, there's two types of progressions we could be potentially talking about. The story progression or character progression. For me, like character progression is what I think is more impactful in Far Cry, 5 especially. It's kind of like, it's different from the previous Far Cry games, the more recent like 3 and 4, in that that was a lot of tied to like forcing you down certain paths. And what I didn't like about it, what I like about Far Cry 5, let's say, is that it's fairly simple. It's all about earning perks and then putting them into abilities. It ties those to like small mini achievements or challenges. So I play primarily stealth. So when I started playing, it was a lot of like bow kills and stealth kills. And once I'd kind of like run out of perks that I could earn from that playstyle, it's time to move on to do something more drastic and adopt a different other playstyles. So then I went on to like machine gun kills, grenade kills. So what I like about the progression in Far Cry 5 is it funnels you into different playstyles and it funnels you into different experiences without actually forcing you with missions. All manner of it. It wants you to see everything and explore everything, and it uses the upgrade system to do that, which I think is really clever and enjoyable.
I think a lot of that is definitely true. And Far Cry 2 does a lot of the same things, but I think Far Cry 2 does it in a much more natural way. My problem with Far Cry 5 is that it's also artificial, whereas with Far Cry 2, it's way more natural and realistic. It's just like, you can't get this gun yet because it's way too expensive, so you have to go out there and earn the money to get that gun, and then later on in the game, much later, you can buy that gun, which will completely change your playstyles. I think a really important part of progression in Far Cry is how you learn the environment and getting to know the places that you'll go to. And in Far Cry 5, you can just fast travel everywhere. So you never get to learn the map, really. You just, you ping yourself there, and you ping yourself there, and you ping yourself there, and then that's sort of, you never feel like you're a part of that environment. Whereas in Far Cry 2, there is fast travel, but only in 4 points on the map. So you end up actually moving there yourself, and then you find yourself actually learning your environment. And so not only is your character progressing, but you are progressing in that world as well as a player, and you get to learn your environment by traveling within it.
That's exactly what Far Cry 5 does, but it just never forces that upon you. It gives you the option. So if you're just fast traveling from point to point, usually it means that you're just hitting the main missions. So the game kind of subtly tells you, hey, you might want to wander around. And when you start wandering around, it has all these cool scenarios that are just in the world. So you do build that awareness of the world and you figure it out. And what I like about it is it kind of gives you, it separates the areas into like manageable chunks. So the thing that you were saying about guns and being forced to buy them at a later stage, that's an interesting way, and I agree that it's natural, but it makes it harder for certain people. Like, I can play a first-person shooter a bunch of different ways. My preferred way is to go stealth if I can. What I love about Far Cry 5 is from the outset, it's like, here's all the tools that you need to play in any number of styles. And it's a style that another game that I'm going to mention, Metal Gear Solid 5, greatest game, that's what it does. It does a similar thing where it's like, here's a bunch of things for you to use. It's like, give me the options to play how I want and let me have that fun, instead of getting it right at the end when I'm kind of done with the game. I might not even make it to that point. What if I never get to the point where I can play how I want to play? That's not an ideal experience.
Surely that's something to aim for. You want to get there so that you can unlock the thing that you really want.
Like, I think I'm done by then. Like,
to be honest,
how I want to play.
It sounds like you're already done with Far Cry 5 and you just want to play Metal Gear Solid 5.
That's 100% of the time that is the case. Any game, if you put Half-Life 3 in front of me right now, I'd play for an hour and then play Metal Gear Solid 5.
And let's cut Tam off before he bangs on about Metal Gear Solid 5 for the next hour. Let us know your thoughts on who you think won the debate by voting in the above poll, or if you're over on GameSpot.com, by putting your thoughts in the comments section below. It'll be your votes that decide who wins, so make yourselves heard. Right, time for this week's dose of stupidity with our quickfire round, a series of dumb questions written by the rest of the UK team. Let's see how Tam and Oscar get on.
Who would your game vote for in the presidential election? It's quite clear who my one would vote for. So to paraphrase Oscar from the first episode of Versus, this doesn't represent me, Ubisoft's views as a whole, the development teams as a whole. Far Cry 5 would probably vote Trump. It likes billions and billions and
billions and billions and
billions and billions and
billions and billions
and billions.
Describe your game's perfect date. Far Cry 2, you'd go on safari. You'd have a nice romantic sunset, looking at some zebras and some lions and some tigers, and then you'd probably both contract malaria together and end up in heaven
dead
together.
On the side of the road, killed by the jackal. Would you rather get mauled by 100 cheeseburger-sized bears or one regular-sized bear called Cheeseburger? So it's probably worth saying, like, you're getting mauled either way here, regardless. If I'm gonna go, I want to go in a novel way. Because like then someone reports it on the news and it's like, this guy got killed by 1,000 cheeseburger-sized bears.
Do they then go on a rampage, like killing all of your family and like your friends?
Let's leave my family out of this. Do your best southern drawl. I can't even remember. What kind of southern drawl?
God damn it, Tamoor.
I'm gonna go home and play some video games.
I'm gonna play Far Cry 5. Daddy, when can I get my room back?
Hooey!
Right, let's go home.
Remember to make your voice heard in our poll or in the comments section below and tell us who you think argued their case better. If you enjoyed this episode of Versus, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as we'll have new episodes of the show every Wednesday. Thanks for watching, see ya!